We say it all the time. No parent should ever have to bury a child. It's a day no parent ever wants to see. And over the weekend, the mother of little 22-month-old Cooper, the boy who was left locked in the car by his father, had to say goodbye to her son. Her husband was not there because he's in jail. Mom spoke. She didn't blame her husband. She supported him. There's no split inside that household. Mom and dad united. So how does all that impact the investigation? Well, two ways. One, it becomes more difficult to prove this case to a jury. And two, it becomes a bigger challenge to get to the truth.
A day after she defended her husband against people who called him a murderer, CNN has learned Leanna Harris may have to defend her own actions. In search warrants released this weekend, police said, quote, Leanna Harris, the child's mother, was also questioned regarding the incident and made similar statements regarding researching in-car deaths and how it occurs. Police did not say when the search was done. Left alone for 7 hours in an SUV, 22-month-old Cooper Harris died. The high temperature that day was 92 degrees. The boy's father, Justin Ross Harris, has been charged with murder. He says he's not guilty. Harris phoned into his baby's funeral service and was heard over the speakerphone sobbing. He thanked the crowd for their support. The hundreds there stood to applaud him. Cameras were not allowed inside.
I'm here for him.
You're here.
Even if it's done a horrible thing.
Carol Brown, a longtime family friend, was one of those in attendance.
I mean, he could have gone to the car and not seen the little boy. If the boy was sleeping or, you know, it could have. I mean, he could have been distracted. So, but I do have questions about it.
Questions that may also be aimed at the boy's mother. Why would both parents do a search, as police say, for how long it takes a child to die in a hot car? Still to determine if this was a tragic coincidence or something much worse.
And at the funeral for Cooper over the weekend, Cooper's mother and father both spoke. The father called in from jail and mom spoke in front of everyone that showed up. I want you to take a listen to some of what they said to everyone who showed up at that funeral, as read by my producers.
Thank you for everything you've done for my boy. Good life. No words to say, just horrible. I'm just sorry I can't be there.
First of all, Ross, I love you, and I'm doing this for you, okay? 2 years ago, when we welcomed a 6-pound, 8-ounce perfect baby into the world, this never crossed my mind. He was perfect, and he is perfect. He changed mine and Ross's life. I've talked to you about the magnitude in which he changed it. As children do, he turned our lives upside down. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Am I angry with Ross? Absolutely not. It has never crossed my mind. Ross is, and was, and will be, if we have more children, a wonderful father. Ross is a wonderful daddy and leader for our household. Cooper meant the world to him. Some of you might wonder how I'm even standing here today. I wonder that myself, and I asked myself that question over and over the last week. I should be crumpled into a heap of snot and tears into the dirt. The Lord is holding me up right now. He is holding Ross up, and he is holding both of us up when we can't hold ourselves up.
And there was one other quote from Cooper's mom over the weekend that I want to read for you. And a lot of people are talking about it. I miss him with all of my heart. Would I bring him back? No. To bring him back into this broken world would be selfish. Let me bring in Nick Valencia, CNN correspondent, who is back here now in Atlanta, was in Alabama over the weekend. Nick, great to see you. Let's talk first about this funeral. How would you describe the mood, the emotion, and what was said, and really the whole thing?
Well, to see that tiny red casket placed in front of the hundreds that were there, it was a very chilling moment. There was a handful of reporters. We were there. I was there sitting alongside my producer and saw as the family was grieving. The grandparents, particularly Ross Harris's parents, Justin Ross Harris's parents, had a very emotional day. They were the ones that were sobbing the loudest, the most. To the surprise of many in the crowd, Justin Ross Harris phoned in from his Georgia jail. At the start of the service, the pastor who led the service was their pastor from Marietta, Georgia. He arrived there and said, if you see Leanna Harris on the phone, It's because Ross Harris is going to call in. He goes by Ross to his friends. He called in about 15 minutes into the service as his father, the grandfather of 22-month-old Cooper Harris, was delivering a eulogy, and his called in on the cell phone. That cell phone was placed on the podium, and you could hear him, Vinny, just sobbing over the phone, gasping for breath. It was an emotional moment for those that were in the crowd. About 450 seats there. It was near capacity. Lots of people showed up, members of the media included. We wish we had photos or video inside that, but no cameras were allowed in. There was agreement that this church made with the media before the service. It went on for about an hour, Vinny, and as I mentioned, it was just a very emotional experience just to see particularly that tiny red casket placed there in front of everyone. His favorite color was red, which is why that casket was red, Vinny.
Okay, I can understand the emotion. Were there any, because we know the cloud that is hanging over this entire investigation and death, was there any acknowledgement of that part of what was going on, the fact that the father's in jail, that the mother has given these other statements? How about that aspect of what happened?
Well, let me say this. That funeral should have all been about the 22-month-old Cooper Harris. It wasn't. It was as much about Cooper Harris's death as it was about the suspicion surrounding his death. It was about the phone call, the last-minute phone call made from the jail by Justin Ross Harris. And it was also about Leanna Harris standing in front of that congregation, in front of the hundreds that were in attendance, and addressing questions, the suspicions, as your producers just read there, those quotes, saying, I know people are wondering how I can stand up here and not be an emotional mess. I know that there are questions surrounding this. She made it a point to go out of her way to talk about her support for her husband. And it was clear to me as I was listening to the service that she was speaking as much to those in the crowd as she was to those that perhaps would hear about her speech and her eulogy. She was speaking beyond the church service. It was described by some reporters as, that I was in there with as bizarre. It was certainly extraordinary. Vinny?
Is there any indication anywhere that anyone doesn't believe him, whether it's a friend, close relative, anyone associated with this couple and this family that is questioning what happened here as being something other than the most tragic of all accidents?
Vinny, it's an important point to make that the lawyer has done his best to keep everyone surrounding the family, keep them from talking to the media. Everyone that we spoke to off camera, you saw Carol Brown there, I spoke to on camera. She was the only friend of the family that would talk to me. Everyone else that I spoke to, we knocked on a lot of doors throughout Tuscaloosa, Foster's, Alabama, and Northport, where friends and family are located. No one wanted to talk to us. At one point, I knocked on the parents of Ross Harris's house, his family home where he grew up, and they asked me to leave. They said members of the media should not be here. They said, please leave. There was another neighbor of theirs in another part of Alabama that said, please leave and never come back. No one was willing to say anything bad about Justin Ross Harris. Everyone that we spoke to off camera, on the record, said that he is a God-centered man. This is not in his character. That this is extremely devastating circumstance, but this is not the Ross Harris that they know.
There he is. That's the father who's in jail. His 22-month-old son, Cooper, was buried over the weekend. But more coming out over the weekend from the search warrants, more information that investigators have. And let's start here with the Cobb County search warrant relative to Justin Ross Harris, the father here. During an interview with Justin, he stated that he recently researched through the internet child deaths inside vehicles and what temperature it needs to be for that to occur. Justin stated that he was fearful that this could happen. What? It gets worse. It gets worse. Because in another Cobb County search warrant, they also spoke with the mother, Leanna Harris. Leanna Harris, the child's mother, was also questioned regarding the incident and made similar statements regarding researching car deaths and how it occurs. Who does that? Who researches what could accidentally happen? How about researching how to not accidentally do it? That's what you research. You know, oh, I'm planning on accidentally leaving my child in the car. I wonder how long I can do that for. It's absurd. Let me bring in my dream team today, because to me this is absurdity. Seema Iyer joining us from New York, former prosecutor. Danny Savalas, CNN legal analyst, is joining us here in studio. Mike Brooks, HLN law enforcement analyst as well. Ladies first, Seema. He researched it, and she did.
I'm very upset about this, Vinny. I'll tell you what. This is my thought. Something else is going on that we don't know about. And here is my concern. Perhaps Mr. Harris is having some issues, mental health issues, medical issues, and perhaps he and his wife were concerned that he was going to do something like this by mistake. Okay. My gut is telling me this was an accident. And I think...
So you can look a jury straight in the face and tell them that? All right.
I think the more investigation has to be done. We don't have all the answers.
Of course, but this, Danny, is there... Give me the innocent explanation. Is there an innocent explanation for researching this stuff?
I think there absolutely is. You know, it's really interesting how we're all coming down on this guy based on his internet searches alone. But how comfortable are any of us? Not alone,
his child's also dead.
How comfortable are any of us with somebody looking through our past internet searches? Your browser history is sort of a glimpse into the meanderings of your mind. Who knows? We look up all kinds of things during the day. Using that as evidence against somebody for what they may have done on a particular day, certainly it's going to be admissible. I just have to wonder, how good do all of us feel? How safe do we feel about somebody looking? Well, you might, but I don't.
No, I feel safe because Mike, it's the question of, do you believe in bad luck / coincidences here?
No, he says he was worried about this happening. Then you would be more hyper-vigilant.
About that
you
happening?
Kidding me?
Who worry? I mean, if you're worried about it happening... Oh, I might leave my child in the car. What happens? If you're worried about it happening, why is the solution to the worry researching how long it takes for someone to die?
And both of them doing it. Wait. They may have done more. There may be more going on in addition to the internet search.
Okay, we'll see. Right now, it doesn't sound good.